Many of you have watched our heads-up video of the GoPro Hero 4 Black versus the Sony FDR-X3000V, and both Sony and GoPro have new cameras. Hey, Chris from Videomaker here, and in this video, we're putting the GoPro Hero 5 Black up against the Sony FDR-X3000R to answer which action camera should you buy. In this video, we're going to show you an apples-to-apples comparison between the GoPro Hero 5 Black versus the Sony FDR-X3000R. But before I get started, if you'd like to enter to win an Asden SMX30, a mono and stereo switchable camera-mounted mic, go to videomaker.com/wincoolgear or click on the link in the description. Enter your email address and you're entered to win. Oh, and hey, remember, hit that like button and comment because we want to know what you think. We have many tests to go over, so first let's go over what you'll see in this video. We're going to start with image quality tests like sharpness, image stabilization, low light capabilities, color settings, dynamic range, rolling shutter, and shooting underwater. Then we'll move on to our audio tests, testing recording abilities, starting out with how they sound with or without their housing or cage on. Then we'll test how they sound with wind reduction on and off. Then we'll go over their photo options like time-lapse and photo bursts. We will then show you the usability test covering field of view options, battery life, and their menu operation. Lastly, we'll evaluate their value and cost of each camera, compare them to each other. We'll end with declaring a winner and answer the question, what action camera should you buy? Let's start out our image quality test with the sharpness comparison between the two cameras. Shooting at our DST Labs chart for sharpness, look at the chart where the fine lines along the dotted line, left of the center circle, start to get blurry. That's where sharpness and detail diminish. Looking at the Sony, you can see about 6 hash marks past 2K. That's where its sharpness begins to diminish. Then with the GoPro, it doesn't do as well with only 2 hash marks past the 2K mark. When it comes to sharpness, Sony wins. With action cameras, what the camera's bitrate is will affect how the moving background looks when moving fast. Let's take snowboarding as an example. The higher the bitrate, the better the surrounding trees will look when zooming down the hill. The Hero 5 Black's bitrate is 60 megabits per second, and the Sony is 100 megabits per second, giving Sony another win for its larger bitrate. Prior to this release, GoPro didn't have any image stabilization or IS, and Sony only had digital IS. However, now they both offer IS, but not all IS is created equal. The Hero 5 Black is digital image stabilization. That means that through rotation, scale, and crop, it's able to achieve stability. This is no different than if you stabilize your footage with your editing software in post. On top of that, because it uses scale to achieve the stabilization, there's not any IS offered when shooting in 4K. Sony is a different story. The image stabilization it offers is optical through attaching the sensor to the optics. Because it's an optical image stabilization, it doesn't use its resolution to scale, rotate, and crop, so it can be used in every resolution. Although it's nice that the GoPro offers any stabilization, it's no match for the optical image stabilization that Sony offers. Because of this, Sony wins again. We had to do this test a bit differently than we typically do. In our normal low light tests, we raise the ISO, close the aperture, and increase the shutter speed to keep the same exposure as ISO goes up. Doing this shows us at what point does noise appear in the image. This in turn informs you of what ISO you can push the camera in low light situations before noise is introduced. But for these cameras, there is no aperture control, and only the GoPro will allow you to control the ISO limit and shutter speed. The Sony does not have enough controls to test it in this way. However, to get around this, we put both of them in auto exposure and dimmed the light source so that we could see what camera shot clean, non-noisy footage longer. But because of this, we were unable to tell you the settings for real-world use, but rather out of these two cameras, which one will give you the best ability to shoot in lower light situations. Let's take a look at our tests. Now we dim the light sources at 10% increments starting from full power. And what we saw was that although neither do low light very well, Sony did look better for longer. Sony wins our low light test. When it comes to color, both GoPro and Sony offer different color profiles, but don't call them the same thing. Let's take a look at the Hero 5 with GoPro Color versus the FDR-X3000R in Vivid. The GoPro has a little bit more true color to the actual scene. Next, let's look at each of them in their most muted setting, GoPro Color Flat and Sony Natural. When shooting in this mode, the desire is to have more flexibility for grading in post. Let's look at them side by side. Now let's pull up their waveform scope, and let's take a look at the before and after color grade. Not a huge difference after the grade. The GoPro has more defined edges where the trees meet the sky, whereas the Sony has a smoother edge, looking a bit more natural, but outside of that, not a huge difference. Combining the two color profiles overall, the GoPro has better color. GoPro wins for color. Now let's consider the dynamic range of both cameras. To the naked eye, outside of having a bit different color, there isn't a clear winner. But if we pull up the waveform again, you can see that there is a bit more information in the GoPro shot. Dynamic range goes to GoPro. Now let's look at rolling shutter of each camera. They were mounted together, so the movement of the camera is the same. When we hold on a frame to compare the two, GoPro is the winner. Winner, GoPro, for having less rolling shutter. Since both cameras are meant for underwater shooting, we thought it would be best to find out which one shoots better underwater footage. So let's take a look at the cameras side by side. The image from the GoPro looks better, whereas the Sony is just not as sharp. On a side note, when the GoPro is wet, the touchscreen on the back does not operate properly. It must be dried before it will properly understand any touch command. The winner of underwater shooting, GoPro. To test the audio recording of each camera, we shot both with housing on and off, as well as with and without wind reduction on. Let's take a listen. We felt that because the housing the Sony requires for underwater shooting, the GoPro sounds better, as well as outside of the housing, the GoPro still sounds better. Then moving on to wind reduction, although we found that both to be just okay, GoPro did it better. And on a side note, neither camera will reduce wind from, like, say, mounting on a car or something really fast. It's just too much to handle. GoPro is the winner and offers better audio. When it comes to photo options of each camera, there are two options we evaluated: time-lapse and photo bursts. Starting with time-lapse, both the Sony and GoPro offer time-lapse photos, but the GoPro can also compile your pictures into video in camera. Other than that extra option, there isn't any clear winner doing time-lapse better. So because it offers both video and photo time-lapse, the GoPro is the time-lapse winner. When it comes to photo bursts, just on specs alone, the GoPro has the upper hand because it triples the amount of photos that can be shot in a single burst at 30 versus the Sony's 10. Photo burst winner, GoPro. In these next tests, we'll be testing all of the functions that relate to a camera's usability. We'll cover the field of view options, battery life, cage or housing, and their menu options. Starting off with field of view, both cameras offer multiple field of view options. The Sony offers wide, medium, and narrow field of view, and can be accessed in every resolution. The GoPro has two more field of view options, adding super wide and linear, along with the same three the Sony offers. Linear is the same field of view as medium, but corrects for lens distortion. Not every field of view option is available in every resolution on the GoPro. However, because more options are available on the GoPro, it is the field of view winner. Winner for field of view, GoPro. With action cameras, it's likely that one would just start rolling and end recording when the battery's dead. Because of this, how long your battery lasts is key. We set both cameras up with full batteries and began to roll in 4K and 24p. And this is what we found. The Sony over 3 tests lasted an average of 1 hour and 10 minutes. The GoPro over those same 3 tests lasted an average of 1 hour and 32 minutes. The clear winner here is the GoPro HERO5 Black. Winner for better battery life, GoPro. Lastly, let's look at the menu of both cameras. Although both cameras have a simple menu, the GoPro has a more intuitive and easier to manage because of the touchscreen. Winner for a better and more intuitive menu, GoPro. If you look at the price alone, the choice between the two cameras might be a bit difficult because they're the same price at $400. On specs alone, they offer many of the same features. So can you make a choice based on price alone? Well, we think so, and here's why. The HERO5 Black has a rear touchscreen. This makes menu operation easier and should help you with both exposure choice and framing. And although the FDR-X3000R does allow for menu operation on camera, to see what you are filming requires the live view remote, and it costs an extra $100. So for that reason alone, the GoPro HERO5 Black is a better value. Our tests show that the GoPro HERO5 Black is a better overall value and, depending on what you do with it, the best option. While the Sony FDR-X3000R is a fine camera and doesn't have any fatal flaws, it does fall short when compared to the HERO5 Black. Our results show that unless you value low light performance, image stabilization, bitrate, and sharpness over all other options, including price, the GoPro HERO5 Black is the better choice. So there you have it, that's our heads up video for the GoPro HERO5 Black versus the Sony FDR-X3000R. If you'd like to buy one and help support us make videos like these, well, there'll be a link in the description. You go ahead and click on that and buy it today. As well, there'll be a link to the prior video of the GoPro HERO4 Black versus the Sony FDR-X1000V, and you can click and watch that video as well. As always, like, share, and comment. We want to know what you think. Hey, I've been Chris from Videomaker, and until next time, keep doing the hard work that you do. Bye-bye.